Probably inside the ring, I stood in there too long. Also not going in prepared fully, 100% in some of my fights.
Really?
Yeah, yeah.
Why would you do that?
Overconfidence, too much too fast. See, I was this kid growing up with nothing. East LA.
At 55, Oscar De La Hoya finally came clean. Not about titles, not about money, but about fear. Real fear. The 5 men who made the Golden Boy feel weak in the ring. But here's the thing, talking about fear takes real courage, and Oscar showed that courage by being honest about the fighters who pushed him to his limits. These were not just losses, they were lessons. Each fight taught him something new about himself, each opponent showed him a different kind of challenge. And by sharing these stories, Oscar gives us a window into what it really means to be a champion. Because champions are not the ones who never lose, they are the ones who face their fears and keep fighting anyway. Let me take you through the 5 fighters who tested Oscar like no one else could, the men who made him question everything he knew about boxing, and the battles that defined his legendary career. September 18th, 1999, Las Vegas, the fight of the millennium. Oscar De La Hoya stepped into the ring against Felix Trinidad to unify the welterweight division. This was supposed to be Oscar's night, his chance to prove he was the best welterweight on the planet. For 8 rounds, Oscar put on a clinic. He was faster, he was sharper, he controlled the distance perfectly. His jab was like a whip, snapping Trinidad's head back again and again. The numbers tell the story. Oscar landed 263 total punches, compared to Trinidad's 166. His jab alone landed 143 times, while Trinidad only connected with 42 jabs. Oscar was winning big. But then something changed. Fear crept in. Not the fear of getting hit, the fear of what might happen if he got caught. Trinidad was known for his knockout power. As the fight went into the late rounds, Oscar started to worry. What if Trinidad landed one big shot? What if all his hard work went away in one moment? So Oscar made a choice. He decided to play it safe. He started running, boxing in circles, trying to survive instead of trying to win. From rounds 10 to 12, Oscar barely threw punches. He landed only 33 punches in those final 3 rounds, while Trinidad landed 64. Those championship rounds cost him everything. The judges gave Trinidad the win by majority decision. Oscar had dominated most of the fight, but he gave away the victory in the final minutes. The loss hurt, but what hurt more was knowing he beat himself. He let fear control his choices. He chose safety over victory. Looking back, Oscar admits this was one of his biggest regrets. He was winning the fight. The belt was his. But anxiety about Trinidad's power made him abandon the game plan that was working. This taught Oscar a hard lesson. Sometimes the biggest opponent in the ring is yourself. Fear can make you do things that go against everything you know. But here is what makes Oscar special. He learned from this mistake. He never made the same error again. And by talking about it openly, he helps other fighters avoid the same trap. That takes real strength. September 13th, 2003, Las Vegas. Oscar De La Hoya faced Shane Mosley for the 2nd time. Their first fight had been close, with Mosley winning by split decision. This time, Oscar was ready. He had a point to prove. Oscar fought brilliantly that night. The statistics show he was clearly the better man. He landed 221 punches out of 616 thrown. Mosley only connected with 127 out of 496. Oscar outlanded him. Oscar outworked him. By every measure, Oscar won that fight. But the judges saw it differently. All 3 judges scored the fight 115 to 113 for Mosley. Oscar could not believe it. He protested right after the fight ended. How could he lose when he clearly won? The decision made no sense. For years, that loss bothered Oscar. He knew he had won. Everyone watching knew he had won. But the record book said otherwise. Then, years later, the truth came out. The real reason Oscar lost became clear. Shane Mosley admitted to using performance-enhancing drugs before that fight. He confessed in a legal deposition that he had used designer steroids. Drugs called THG and testosterone. Even worse, he used EPO, a blood doping drug that boosts stamina dramatically. EPO increases red blood cell production. This means more oxygen gets to the muscles. Fighters can go harder for longer. They recover faster between rounds. Mosley's blood levels showed he had dangerously high red cell counts from the drug. This gave him a huge advantage, especially in the late rounds. Now everything made sense. Oscar had outlanded Mosley for most of the fight, but in the championship rounds when fighters normally get tired, Mosley stayed strong. He even hurt Oscar late in the fight. The judges remembered those late rounds and gave Mosley the decision. Oscar was not fighting Mosley at his natural best. He was fighting a chemically enhanced version. The drugs helped Mosley steal rounds he should have lost. They helped him stay fresh when he should have been exhausted. This revelation changed how Oscar viewed the loss. He had not really lost to Mosley. He had lost to steroids. He had lost to cheating. The fear from this fight was not about Mosley's skill. It was the fear of unfair competition. The fear that no matter how good you are, someone might cheat their way to victory. Oscar's courage shows in how he handled this. He could have stayed bitter. He could have let anger consume him. Instead, he used this experience to push for better drug testing and boxing. He became a voice for clean competition. He turned a painful loss into a force for positive change. September 18, 2004, Las Vegas. Oscar de la Hoya moved up to middleweight to challenge Bernard Hopkins, the undisputed title. This was a bold move. Oscar had started his career at 135 pounds. Now he was fighting at 160 pounds. That is a huge jump. Hopkins was a natural middleweight. He had been fighting at this weight his whole career. At 39 years old, he was older than Oscar, but bigger and stronger. Size matters in boxing, and Hopkins knew how to use his size advantage. For 8 rounds, Oscar held his own. He used his speed and skill to stay competitive, but Hopkins was patient. He was looking for one perfect shot, and in the 9th round, he found it. A left hook to the body, clean and precise. It hit Oscar's liver perfectly. A liver shot is one of the most painful punches in boxing. It does not knock you out like a headshot. It shuts your body down completely. The pain is instant and overwhelming. Your legs stop working, your breathing stops, everything stops. Oscar dropped to his hands and knees. He rolled over in obvious pain. The referee counted to 10, but Oscar could not get up. His body would not respond. The fight was over. Hopkins had knocked out the Golden Boy with one perfect punch. This loss showed Oscar a hard truth. There are limits to what size a fighter can compete at. No matter how skilled you are, if you move up too much in weight, you face men who are naturally bigger and stronger. Your speed and talent can only take you so far against someone who has 20 or 30 pounds of muscle on you. The fear Hopkins caused was physical. It was the fear of being outmatched by size, the fear of taking a shot that your body simply cannot handle. Oscar realized that moving up to middleweight might have been a step too far. His frame was built for lighter weights. At 160 pounds, he was fighting men whose punches he was never meant to take. But Oscar does not regret taking this fight. He could have stayed at welterweight and kept winning easier fights. Instead, he challenged himself. He tested his limits. He wanted to know how far his talent could take him. That takes incredible bravery. The Hopkins loss taught Oscar about his physical ceiling. It showed him where his natural advantages ended, and by accepting that lesson, he showed wisdom. Not every fighter is meant to conquer every weight class. Knowing your limits is just as important as pushing them. May 5, 2007, Las Vegas. The richest fight in boxing history. Oscar de la Hoya versus Floyd Mayweather Jr. The whole world was watching. This was the fight everyone wanted to see. Mayweather was different from Oscar's other opponents. He did not try to hurt you with power. He did not come forward and pressure you. Instead, he made you miss. He made you look foolish. He made you chase him around the ring while he picked you apart with perfect timing. Oscar has called Mayweather very intelligent, very smart, very calculated. Those words show respect. They show that Oscar understood what made Floyd so dangerous. It was not his power. Mayweather did not hurt Oscar during the fight. Oscar has said he took Floyd's punches just fine. The problem was that Oscar could barely land his own punches. Fighting Mayweather was like trying to hit a ghost. Every time Oscar threw a combination, Floyd was already gone. Every time Oscar thought he had an opening, Floyd slipped away. Oscar was forced to constantly take the fight to Floyd, otherwise there would be no fight. But that played right into Floyd's hands. Mayweather is a master counterpuncher. He wants you to throw first so he can counter. Oscar had to attack to have any chance of winning. But every time he attacked, Floyd made him pay. A quick jab here, a straight right there. Nothing devastating, but always accurate, always clean. The statistics from the fight show the frustration. Some unofficial scorecards had the fight close. Some even had Oscar ahead late in the bout. But the final numbers showed Mayweather winning with cleaner, more accurate punches. Floyd won by split decision. It was close on the cards, but in reality, Floyd controlled the entire fight. This loss frustrated Oscar more than any other. He was not hurt. He was not overpowered. He was simply outthought. Mayweather solved Oscar's style perfectly, and Oscar could not solve Mayweather's defense. After the fight, Oscar publicly criticized Mayweather's style. He called it defensive and boring. He said it was bad for boxing. This strong reaction shows how much the loss bothered him. Oscar was known for exciting fights. He came forward, he threw combinations, he gave fans action. But against Floyd, all that aggression was useless. The fear Mayweather caused was intellectual. It was the frustration of facing an opponent you simply cannot figure out. No matter what Oscar tried, Floyd had an answer. It was like playing chess against someone who sees 10 moves ahead. You know you are outmatched, but you have to keep trying anyway. What makes Oscar admirable is how he handled this loss. He did not make excuses about his performance. He gave Floyd credit for being smarter and more calculated. Oscar acknowledged that Mayweather's timing and precision were his greatest weapons. That kind of honesty takes real character. The Mayweather fight taught Oscar that sometimes you face someone who is just a bad matchup for your style. It does not mean you are not great. It means they have the perfect tools to beat you. Oscar learned to respect that reality. December 6, 2008, Las Vegas, Oscar De La Hoya's final fight against Manny Pacquiao. This was supposed to be a showcase, a chance for Oscar to prove he still had it. Instead, it became the darkest night of his career. Before we talk about the fight, we need to talk about what Oscar did to himself. He agreed to fight at 147 pounds. That was the welterweight limit. But Oscar had been fighting at higher weights for years. Cutting down to 147 was brutal. Oscar weighed in at 145 pounds. He looked drained. He looked weak. When fight night came, he actually weighed less than Pacquiao, even though Manny was the naturally smaller man. Oscar had lost all his size advantages. He had drained his body to make weight, and he paid the price. From the opening bell, Pacquiao overwhelmed him. Manny's speed was incredible. His punches came from every angle. Oscar could not keep up. He could not defend himself. He could not fight back. Everything that made him great was gone. The weight cut had stolen his power, his speed, and his ability to take a punch. Oscar has been honest about how he felt in that ring. He said he did not really feel Pacquiao's power in individual punches. It was the accumulation. Punch after punch after punch, with no way to stop them, no way to escape. Just constant punishment from a man who was faster and fresher. Then Oscar said something that shocked everyone. He admitted that during the fight, he literally wanted to die in that ring. He thought if Pacquiao hit him hard enough, maybe he would not wake up, and maybe that would be better than continuing to fight. Let that sink in. A champion, an Olympic gold medalist, a man who had won world titles in 6 different weight classes. He was so broken down, so overwhelmed, that he wished for the fight to end in the worst way possible. Oscar's corner stopped the fight before the 9th round. They could not watch him suffer anymore. It was the right decision. Oscar was not just losing, he was being destroyed. And it was not because Pacquiao was so much better. It was because Oscar had destroyed himself with the weight cut. The fear from this fight was existential. It was the terror of total helplessness, of being in the ring with no way to defend yourself, no way to fight back, just standing there while someone punches you over and over. That is every fighter's nightmare. And Oscar lived through it in front of millions of people. But here is what makes Oscar's admission so powerful. He could have made excuses. He could have blamed Pacquiao's speed or power. Instead, he took responsibility. He admitted he made a terrible mistake with the weight cut. He admitted he felt fear and desperation in that ring. He admitted he wanted to quit. That kind of honesty is rare. Most fighters would never admit to those feelings. They would protect their image. But Oscar told the truth, even though it made him look weak. That actually makes him stronger. It shows he learned from his worst moment. It shows he understands what went wrong. And it shows he has grown as a person. The Pacquiao fight was Oscar's last. He never fought again after that night. Some people saw it as a sad ending to a great career, but Oscar sees it as a lesson, a reminder that fighters need to take care of their bodies, that making weight safely is more important than taking any fight, that your health comes before your pride. Oscar De La Hoya faced 5 men who exposed different parts of his game. Trinidad made him afraid of being caught with power late. Mosley showed him the pain of losing to a cheater. Hopkins taught him the limits of his physical frame. Mayweather frustrated him with skills he could not match. And Pacquiao destroyed him when he destroyed himself first. Each loss hurt in its own way. Each one taught a different lesson, but Oscar never ran from these memories. He never pretended they did not happen. Instead, he talked about them openly. He admitted his fears. He explained what each opponent did that made him feel vulnerable. That is what separates Oscar from other fighters. Many champions cannot handle talking about their losses. They make excuses. They blame judges or injuries or bad luck. But Oscar looks at his defeats clearly. He gives credit where credit is due. He explains what his opponents did well and what he did wrong. The 5 fighters Oscar feared were not just the ones who beat him. They were the ones who showed him something about himself he did not want to see. Trinidad showed him that fear could make him give up a one fight. Mosley showed him that hard work might not be enough against cheaters. Hopkins showed him that size eventually matters more than skill. Mayweather showed him that some puzzles have no solution. And Pacquiao showed him what happens when you sacrifice too much. Each lesson stung. Each one hurt his pride. But Oscar took those lessons and grew from them. He became a better person. He became a better businessman. He became a promoter who understood what fighters go through. And he became a voice for making boxing safer and fairer. At 55 years old, Oscar can look back at these 5 fights with wisdom. He can see how each one shaped him. He can appreciate the courage it took to face these men, and he can be proud that he never backed down, even when fear told him to run. Oscar De La Hoya's legacy is not about being undefeated. It is about being unafraid to face the best, about taking on challenges that might expose your weaknesses, about learning from losses instead of hiding from them, and about having the strength to admit when you were scared. The Golden Boy may have lost 5 times, but in admitting those fears, he won something bigger. He won respect. He won wisdom, and he won the right to call himself a true champion. Because champions are not the ones who never fall. They are the ones who get back up, learn from the fall, and help others avoid the same mistakes. That is the real story of the 5 boxers Oscar De La Hoya feared. Not a story of defeat, but a story of courage. The courage to face your fears, admit your failures, and grow from both. That is what makes Oscar a legend. Not his wins, but his willingness to be honest about his losses.